All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I don't have a real big outline. There's a bunch of stuff there, but I want to open up the submissions that I got for the work breakdown structures. I know that was over a week ago, and a lot of things can happen between then and now, and there's reasons for everything. Some groups are more logistically challenged maybe than others. So when I talk about these things tonight, it's not personal. I want everyone in here to succeed, and I want you to do the best that you can. You really need to pour yourself into this. But we're kind of getting down to brass tacks, and I don't want to sound like a broken record too much, but this is probably the last time I'll say it. I don't feel like I need to ride the seniors in the program to get things done, and so I haven't. I haven't asked for a lot of intermediary projects or anything like that, and I don't plan to. So, you know, if you don't have an estimate put together pretty close to right now, I would say that the danger sign is blinking bright red. I would be concerned. Again, teams are probably farther along than I know, but just based upon what I received, don't know. And I asked for these as I was going to count them as a quiz grade, and I will. I haven't graded them. They're so different, you'll see. And I'll probably grade them pretty leniently, okay? And I'm going to go over grading tonight. But when it comes to your projects, I'm going to be brutal. It's nothing personal. This is the course where you're supposed to show the program and the instructor that you have core competencies that are required when you get issued that piece of paper, that Bachelor of Science. So I just, you know, if you've had me before and I was easy or something, I'm not trying to be hard. I'm trying to be upfront. I've talked from day one about, I think, what I expect. So I'm just telling you, I know that senior project's a big deal. If you don't pass it with a C or better, you got to take it over and you don't get the paper. And I sleep well at night regarding this class because I've said this before. But you know, I'm going to grade what I see, and you know, if you don't have a C or better, I know the ramifications are big. But don't project it onto me. All right, I'm just going to do my job. I'm trying to tell you how I'm going to do my job. All right. So let's look at these work breakdown structures I got from the teams. Okay, I don't think there's any names on any of these. Some of them were in a word processor, like this one. And it's actually not a bad breakdown. It's got Microsoft Word numbering, that works. I don't know why it was put in a spreadsheet. I mean, this could have been done in a spreadsheet, and that'd be just one more thing you didn't have to do. I didn't give you a one-page specification for this. I realize that, but it's not bad. I especially like they're trying to put verbs in front of. You know, they've taken probably the uniformat and put verbs in front of some of the sections, that's okay. For the schedule and the estimate, I would take the parentheses out. No reason to have parentheses in there. And so I can scroll through this and you can get an idea. That's a good way to start. Okay. Again, this was slightly over a week ago when it was due or turned in. A lot can happen in 1 week. But I would say, when we start looking at these due dates and where we're at today on the timeline, if you're not communicating with your group bi-weekly, I would be very concerned. This is the last brass tacks warning I'm going to give. Now, what's disappointing to me, and maybe it's because I didn't specify it, I thought I did verbally. I didn't put a lot in writing, I know that. There's no quantities, all right? Quantities aren't necessarily a part of a work breakdown structure, all right? In fact, it's not a requirement that it be officially. It's just not a complete scope to me unless you have, the work breakdown structure, which is comprehensive, and the quantities and the units of measure. That's a complete scope to me. Okay. The other thing I'm not sure I saw, I know that both of these projects have ramifications about how they're staged or phased. Okay. And I didn't see any work breakdown structures broken up by phases. So, if you've got concrete columns to pour, and you can do them all at once, that's fine, but, how are you going to schedule it if it's in phases? You may have to do 2/3 phase 1 and then the last third in phase 2. Maybe there's more than 2 phases. To me, that's all part of the work breakdown structure. So that was one that I received. Here's another one in Word format. This is not what I thought that I asked for. So I hope that, this team is farther along than this, at least in their scope and their quantity takeoff and their progression towards an estimate. Now, what is good about it, I covered up these names. Well, I thought I did. I covered up these names, but there's the team members and their responsibilities required for the deliverables in the course, right? And I'm going to want this from everyone. I'm going to need to know who on what team did what. Okay. Now you can write that you should write that into your basis of estimate, your basis of schedule, and so forth. But this isn't really what I was necessarily looking for at all, but it's a good thing that they did it. And then the other 4 were in a spreadsheet. This out of the way. So this one had 3 tabs. They labeled them, thankfully. It's not going to be part of the grading, but a lot of times when you install Excel, every time you create a new file, there's a setting in options for the spreadsheet program itself that says how many tabs will be open when you create a new file. And typically the default's 3 tabs, right? And so it's not just students, but faculty send me spreadsheets, and it's got 3 tabs, and there's only data on 1 tab. So all I'm saying is a general practice, if you have 3 tabs, label them like these folks did, this team did, or delete them if you don't use them. Okay? Because a lot of times, you can miss things. Looks like their first tab is kind of how they're coming up with their coding system. So they used grouping here. It's pretty cool. And this was a lot like what I was looking for. Again, it doesn't have quantities. Okay. So I hope they've got them. That's a pretty good little breakdown there. Let's see what's on this other tab. It looks like they're defining the levels. So level 1, you got to scroll down, but it's project, and then they define what their different levels are. That's great. Good stuff. I think one of them is for, this one is probably for general conditions. Yes. And the other is for the direct cost. So this is a pretty nice breakdown. I like it. Again, none of them really showed any phasing or anything like that. I'm sure that'll come later. And only one of them had quantities. This one obviously does not, or I can't find them. But it's a good breakdown. This one works as well. And if it had quantities, boy, it would be great. And just because I'm employed by the ivory tower, and I'm a little bit geeky and anal anyway, I want to, when you make a list in a spreadsheet, you can use some of the database capabilities of a spreadsheet. But you blow that capability up. See, when you have a list like this and it's continuous, and then you have two blanks, that blows up the filtering capability, just so you know. So if the code's good enough, I should know that this is a building enclosure, and I should know from the codes and maybe the summary description, it should still have a code. There should be no blanks. Because basically when you go here and you want to filter and you start doing this kind of stuff, you won't get all the data if you have a break in your list. Okay. And that's a big deal when you're using spreadsheets to come up with cost with a work breakdown structure and other things as well. So that's a pretty nice breakdown, no quantities. This one also used groupings. Expand those out. And there's a sheet here. And there is data on these sheets, but good thing I checked, because the tabs are not labeled. Looks like they haven't completed their coding, but they've got to start. And, that's what I wanted to know. That's why I wanted to see where teams were at. And I think they have a division here that is basically general conditions and direct cost also. Maybe not. There's a difference between these two. Looks like one is general requirements to me, which is general conditions. and some of that's over here. So it looks to me, Team 3, FYI, it looks like you have a little bit of overlap. If the divide between those two tabs was general conditions, in other words, job overhead and direct cost, you've got some overlap. And this is one that did have quantities. So this team had their WBS coded, and they did everything in one place. So as they were going through, they got a lot of work done all at one time. So they don't have to transfer this from Word. As they were looking codes up, they were also looking up production rates, what the crew was and means, and they were doing takeoff. So this is probably the winner of the group as far as I'm concerned. They've got a head start on their cost breakdown structure. Let's see if they have the right cost categories. I think I asked for tax, for labor burden also. There's a few categories they don't have, but looks like they're well on their way to getting a cost breakdown structure completed. I did want to just point out a few things. You know, it's not enough just to go in and look and stick a code on here. And I'm not trying, again, this is nothing personal, but here they have number 4 bars. They've coded it with 031000, and here is reinforcing bars with 032000. Everything needs a unique code for the most part. At least things of similar nature need to have a unique code. Okay, so don't just slap a code in there. I mean, I'm going to look at these things. You know, the code's there for a purpose. I should be able to come in here and filter this thing and isolate all of the number 4 bar just with one code. But the way it is right now, if I pick this code, I'm going to miss this item. And if I pick this code, I'm going to miss this item. Get the idea? So that's just some things I found, but this was really good. I set their quantities to wing beings just so nobody could steal their work. But they had quite a bit of quantity takeoff done here. So unless you can read wing being font language, lots of work there. So kudos. All right. So that's kind of a review through there. I'm probably going to grade them with the one we just looked at, kind of being the forte, and I'll grade them. I'll grade them easy. Again, don't think that if I grade this assignment easy that I'm going to grade the other stuff easy, because what I've done is up on the website. Let's see where the syllabus tab. If you hit the syllabus tab right here, I changed the name to syllabus and rubrics. I revised one thing in the due dates, and I took this final report out because there's a report due with these first two, or the second two, I think. And we'll look through the rubrics, but it's still 1,000 points. Those points I stuck, I think, into the project control plan. But I just took that out. That's not a separate deliverable. So that's what I did there. And then here, this is how I'm going to look at the estimates. So if you have questions on this, I'm going to look at the work breakdown structure. That's worth 20% of your proposal. I'm calling it an estimate. I think in the syllabus it's called a proposal. Hopefully you know the difference between the two. You can't develop a proposal, or you're very unwise if you develop a proposal without finding out your cost first. So I'm going to look at the scope, the descriptions of your work breakdown structure activities, and the quantities. That's worth 20%. I've already been over this before. I just didn't put the weights on. The cost categories, I want labor, labor burden, material, tax on the material, equipment, subcontractors, and other. That's just the minimum. You can have more categories if you want. I want costs by unit and totals. All right. And the price breakdown structure is how you would build the cost either for a lump sum item or units. I would just price everything in your work breakdown structure. Why would you do that? Even if it's a lump sum job, why would you price everything in your work breakdown structure? Now I'm talking about price now. PBS, the price breakdown structure, takes the direct cost, the project overhead, adds it together, spreads the home office overhead to it, and adds profit. Boom, then you have a proposal. You can do that with each item in your work breakdown structure and add it all up, and boom, you have a lump sum for a project. The reason you should do that is because you're going to have to submit a schedule of values to the owner should you get the work and want to invoice him for it. You don't have to do it over. Boom, it's right there. That's the reason I would do it that way. The functionality, can I summarize by the master format, the uniformat, by WBS level, and then I want the basis of estimate along with this, and that's in the recommended practice that I've been showing for all semester. All right, so that's due in, 13 days. The next one you probably need to be concerned about, I have it up here as schedule, work plan, WP, grade rubric. So a lot of this rubric, the first part of it is really about the schedule. I need a Gantt chart with these fields, this information, the WBS. You can double dip there. Quantity is optional. I'll take it without quantity. If you can get quantities in the schedule, it'll turn a subliminal trigger in my brain that says this is a good team. I'm going to want to know what you're self-performing. I don't want it resource loaded by crews. I want it resource loaded by resources. So I don't want to see crews called B15 all over there. I want the individual components of B15 in there. Your work breakdown structure should have a coding system, so if you use uniform master format, that'll suffice. There's actually separate work breakdown structure codes typically used by the industry, and you can map to any of the master format, uniformat, but I'm not going to be sticky on that. I'm going to want to see some reports, cost by activity, a cost summary of your resource usage. Something tells me that's a misspelled word right there. Anyway, I want to see your predecessor, successor logic, some kind of report on that. So you'll have to get some kind of output on those four, at least those four reports. And so for the work plan, everything I just went through is worth 50%. That's how I'm going to grade the schedule. And then I'm going to need to see a site layout diagram. I want to see cash flow. That should just happen automatically from your cost resource loaded schedule. And then the written basis. And that's due, I think, April 13. Yeah. Then the next thing due is the project control plan. This stuff on the 27th. And then I'm going to have you create some kind of video, and then you'll vote on your team members and how they did. So what do you think? The other thing I wanted to discuss after going to brass tacks was, again, I'm open to taking questions before. You're only getting feedback from me twice a week. If you need more feedback, I need to know. No one's asking me very many questions. Now, there's some outstanding questions I've yet to answer. It was just spring break was a rough time around here, and but I'll get to you. But I can pull up Collaborate if people online want to ask questions in real time. I'll do it. Do I need to put up a wiki or a threaded discussion? Whatever it takes, I want to get you what you need, within reason. So that's really my question. I've covered everything else. I just wanted to remind you of these dates and just light a fire under you if your team is not working together efficiently. Time fades away. One of my favorite Neil Young songs, but it's true. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. What do y'all think? Yeah. Remember, if someone's not contributing on your team, you can fire them. That's in the syllabus. And that means they've got to do it themselves. So don't put up with people who aren't collaborating. I mean, it's hard. Believe me, it's hard. Working in teams is tough. No doubt about it. It may be the toughest part of the class. I don't know. And there's always going to be someone do a disproportionate part of the work. Again, don't forget the 80-20 rule. What's the 80-20 rule? Yeah, there's 20% that would represent 80% of the output. So, if you're looking at the job and the scope of it's overwhelming to you, or you're looking at the work breakdown structure and you're doing takeoff, concentrate on the 20% that makes up the 80. Now, unfortunately, the 80-20 rule works everywhere. 20% of the people in your group are going to do 80% of the work. It's just the law of the universe. I'm sorry. And that's why when you grade your peers, you need to be real honest with me and let me know who contributed and who didn't. And you need to separate that from petty personal stuff. Did they contribute? Not did they inflate your ego, or were they nice to you? Did they get the work done? Did they do what they said they were going to do when they were going to say they'd do it? That's what you should be evaluating. Okay. So, again, I'm treating folks in here like they're seniors. If you have specific questions, I don't try to get out of here early. So I haven't got a whole lot, and I don't know what that means. But who cares? Use me if you need me. Questions? Nothing. Okay. Well, I hope this gets us back maybe in the rhythm. Appreciate you being here. I hope it's going well. But be concerned. Just don't sweat blood. Just move forward and make sure things are rolling along, because there's a lot at stake here. And I want you to take it serious, because I do too. All right, well, thanks.